Hello, the doors of the bar are once again open. Me and Cam discuss how to overcome a creative block, CCTV, are there too many cameras, and the vigilante camera operator. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Photography Bar Podcast. I'm Mark, and as always, I am joined with Cam. Cam, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Mark. Yes,
How was your holiday?
The holiday was amazing. I had spent 8-9 days in Jordan and did a lot of traveling, and I mean a lot of traveling, checking in and out of different hotels, staying in the desert overnight as well.
Yeah, that sounds
And
cool.
it is photographically, it's just absolutely one of the. I guess one of the best way to describe the views were biblical, because we were near Jerusalem, we were near Bethlehem, 50 kilometers away.
Yeah.
And when you're overlooking as what is the Holy Land, the only way to describe those views are biblical. And when
Yeah.
we stayed in the desert, the area that we went to is a place called Wadi Rum, and they call it the Mars on Earth. And a lot of films have been made there over the years. So, it's like walking onto this huge film set that just goes on for miles and miles of just
Wow.
desert. And it's one of those things that I don't think even pictures can explain the beauty and the sparseness of all of it. I really travel because we were doing a lot of traveling. I didn't take a camera with me other than my phone. I know, Mark. I know you always take your camera when you
I
go on holiday,
do.
but I never do. So, but I'm going to put some pictures. And I tell you, one of the things I was doing, I was using my camera on my phone in sort of manual mode, which is the first time I've ever done that, where I was adjusting the ISO. So for that reason, I really discovered how to use the camera on my phone to its maximum. And I'm going to post some pictures up of my holiday. But the views are absolutely incredible. And I can't stress sort of enough that if you're looking for somewhere to go in the world and you want to do it just to visit somewhere different or just photographically, then Jordan is definitely, certainly should be top of that list. Really.
Well, I would love to go to Petra. I think that'd be really cool. Of course, it's one of the film sets, isn't it, for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusades. You chose wisely, it's the bit at the end, isn't it? And
and when you see that, and that's one of the seven wonders of the world, or ancient wonders of the world, that was put on the list in the 2000s, and then also went to the Dead Sea, and that is one of the natural wonders of the world. And it really is. And when you visit these places, you really do sort of see that these places aren't called a wonder of the world just for the sake of having a list. They really are an absolute spectacle. But always good, and back to normal now. But come back to really good weather. The weather's great here in the UK.
Yeah. You planned that very, very well. Very well indeed. So we've got a few things we want to discuss, but before we do that, I think, there's a couple of things you would like to say, Cam. Is that right?
I do, yes. I just wanted to say about the show, and if you enjoy the show, we want you to support us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and it's our new YouTube channel, and you can follow us also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok as well, all of which will be linked in the show notes. And please leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast apps such as Spotify and Apple Podcast. These are the things that help this podcast alive and keep going, and we want to continue to do that. And with all that, I'm going to head into our first story of the day. And sorry, I just knocked something over there, Mark.
Oh dear! Oh dear!
But we're good. It wasn't my drink that went. So
that's important. That's important. So yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we want to, I mean, we're both creatives, and photographers do tend to be creatives, and one of the things, and like any creatives, whether you're an author or a filmmaker or whatever it is, creative block is a thing, isn't it? So and that's something that you were reading about, wasn't it?
It is. So we've had the photographer's mentor, be a guest on our show many times, Jeff Brown.
Jeff, yes.
Yeah, and Jeff has been on the show several times, and it's a great guy. I came across Jeff during COVID and joined his group, and he has a Facebook group called the Awesome Photographers Group, and a number of different professionals all working in different specialisms, and it's a very valuable group to get ideas from, and just to ask questions, on within the industry and how everyone's getting on. Now, one of the members of the group, Jack Makin, put a post on recently, and it says here, I'm going to read the post. It says, "Hey everyone, I'm having a bit of a meltdown at the moment and was hoping for some help." And that's where, where this group is really good. It's very supportive.
Yeah.
Firstly, I know you shouldn't compare your work to others, but I'm editing a wedding at the moment and the photos are looking okay, but I want my work to look more like these examples here, but without flat out copying someone else's style. And he's shown some examples of someone else's work, and he says, but I'm struggling to figure out where to begin. I'm usually good with editing too, and just feel like I've hit a creative brick wall at the moment and can't seem to get over it. Then he goes on to talk about the different presets to try and get the color tones that this other photographer's used on his or her pictures. But I didn't really want to talk about the color tones and the problem that he's having with this particular thing about color toning his pictures. I wanted to talk about hitting that creative brick wall, because we all hit a creative brick wall, and sometimes we're not aware we've hit that creative brick wall. We don't realize that we're having an issue with it, and something just doesn't feel quite right. You don't feel as motivated or as inspired as you would sometimes. That can be down to a number of different things, but it's something we all hit, don't we, Mark?
Well, yeah, and I think actually, you know what, because we spoke about quitting photography last episode, didn't we? And actually, one of the things that I said, and I'm not saying this person should quit, by the way, but one of the things that is an indicator that maybe you should quit is when you do compare yourself so much to somebody else, and you really are worried about likes and what other people think and all this kind of stuff. And he did meant I don't know if it's a he or a she or a they rather on the on the group there, but they also said I didn't want to flat out copy somebody else's style. Now, as you know, Cam, and as our regular listeners know, I have an issue with the word style. I really have an issue with it, because I just think if you're trying to find a style, you're too busy trying to find something that's maybe marketable. And if you're trying to force it, then it isn't authentic, and it's not authentically you. I think what you need to do is create your own, let's say, style, just for the sake of a word. It's about creating the work that really makes you happy, as well as obviously your clients. There is obviously, you do have to obviously bend your will a little bit to what the clients are wanting. But yeah, I mean, if there's certain bits of a photographer that you like, you can incorporate it. If there's somebody else that you like, you can incorporate it. Maybe you've seen something in a film that you like, you can incorporate that. Maybe you've seen something in a cartoon or something that's AI generated, which seems to be a thing these days. I promise I wasn't going to say anything about AI today, but I have. Yeah, you can get all these things, all the things that you like, all the things that make you tick. Maybe if you're just looking, I mean, I was sitting in the garden yesterday, which was lovely, and just little things you kind of notice, the way the sun comes through the trees, and you think, oh yeah, maybe I could do that with the bride and groom. It's always about just looking and being you. I think if you start worrying about, well, this photographer here, I really like their tones, I really got to copy their tones. No, you don't. You don't have to copy their tones. Find a tone that you like of your own. This is what I would say. And the only way you can do that is just by looking, whether that's through different mediums, whether that's just looking around if you go on a walk or whatever it is. I think that's the way to do it. It's a trap that we all get into. I've been there. I'm sure you've been there as well, Cam. Just having that creative block. But
yeah, you do. But I find that, when, let's just say that a client comes and they, they say, we've got some products and, we need some photography of these products. And a lot of the time, the first thing I ask is, look, what type of thing are you looking for? And because they'll give me a product sometimes, I'm thinking, oh, I've got no idea what I'm going to do with this, you know. And but no, actually, I don't think that. What I actually think, you know, I will say, oh, I don't know, I'm not quite sure what to do with this, but I'm going to figure out something. That's usually the way I think about it. And what I'll do is I'll throw it back to the client a lot of the time, and I'll just say, okay, what, you know, first of all, you know, you've got this product, and let's just say, you know, I've got a glass next to me. Let's just say that we're going to show these, you know, this company have got a range of different glasses, drinking glasses, and they'll come to me and they'll say, you know, we need some of these doing. First of all, is where are you going to use the images? What do you need to use them for? Okay, so so you go through that process, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Now, that is where you're doing a job for a client, where you're doing a shoot for a client, and you've got to come up with some ideas for what that client actually needs, and what that client's going to be happy with, and fulfills their needs and their requirements, because ultimately they want to sell more products.
Yeah.
And your images have to really do that job for them, and then that way they're going to come back to you. So then you've got the hitting the creative brick wall as far as on a personal level. If you're going out to do some photography just because you want to do it for yourself, you know, because you want to go out and shoot some landscapes, or you want to do some street photography, or you just want to do something for a bit of art, for you know, for some art. Also, you're working on a project. Maybe you're doing a photography course or a course of some sort, and you've been given a theme, and you just don't know what to do, and so those are two very different, I think, creative brick walls. Because I think that I tend to find that if I'm working with a client, I don't really, with a commercial client, I don't really hit a creative brick wall, because I get around that very easily, because I will ask the client, what is it you're looking for? Where are you going to be using the images? So that's my first point.
And I'm guessing as well, I mean, because I've done some product photography, and it was through an art director, and the art director basically told me what he wanted, and I just shot it. You know, they weren't. He was. I mean, he said you can get a bit creative, try your own thing, and all this kind of stuff. But he, you know, he had a specific look. He had a specific thing that he wanted to get. And I guess that's the same with a lot of corporate stuff. They have some art director somewhere, or some web designer, that wants the photos you take to match the website, or to match whatever it is that they want to do, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's their job at the end of the day. And if they do come to you, sometimes it can make it a bit more difficult, because you think, oh, I've got to try and figure out how I'm going to actually do this, you know, and execute execute what they want to do.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of time that, you know, a company will come to us and they'll say, right, you know, we've got this range of products, we need some shots. Okay, as I said, the first thing is, where do you need them? First of all, they might just cut out some white background, because they want to use those on say Amazon or something. They might want to use them for their website. So you start looking at, well, do you need these shots on a plain background, whether it's a color background? Do you need lifestyle shots?
Yeah.
So one of the first things I'll do is I'll ask them what their competitors do. You know, who are your competitors? What are they doing? Let's go and have a look at what they do. Let's go and have a look at what other companies are doing. How are they promoting their products? So that's really that's the first thing I'll look at. And then I'll think, okay, right, these guys are nailing it. This is really good. Or I'm thinking, oh, wow, you know, we can do so much better than their competitors. And that's one great way of actually, you know, dealing with your own, you know, dealing with your own client, is by saying to them, we're going to do something that's so much better than your competitors, and see what they're doing. And then once you start to see what that company's competitors are doing, and you say, well, I really like what this company do, and I really like what this other company do, and you can start to sort of get different ideas from different people, because creative ideas all come from previous knowledge. You know, an idea might just pop up in your head, and you think, wow, come up with this amazing idea to do these great pictures, but really it's not just popped up in your head. That idea has popped into your head from your previous experiences and your previous knowledge. You've seen it somewhere or something similar. Or what you've done is you very quickly mentally pulled together all these different ideas and put it into one. And yes, it might be your idea and it might be a unique idea, but it's still come from somewhere else. I always say music is a perfect example of it. The music of today wouldn't be here today that we hear. Say, I'm talking about mainstream music, if it wasn't for the music that had gone on before that.
Yeah.
you know, jazz and blues has developed into rock and you know, and different, and then it took off into different tangents and things. But music always you know, you can always relate whatever, any type of music back to something else that happened that's come and gone, sort of, you know, from previous years. And it's the same really with photography. So when you hit a creative brick wall there, I think it's more a case of asking others, talk to others, look at what other people are doing. I know in wedding photography, a lot of the wedding images that I shoot, particularly if it comes of the bride and the groom, particularly of the bride, and I've not done this for many years. I don't feel like I need to now because of the number of years I've been doing it. But I used to look in fashion magazines. I used to look in bridal magazines, but I used to look at not the images that other photographers had shot. I was looking at the shots that were used for advertising, which were shot very, very differently.
Yeah.
So they were more fashion style images, and which is what I was shooting. And that's how I was learning. The problem we have now is really we're all looking, everyone's work now is available to view on social media. So we'll go and look at a photographer and think, wow, I love his or her work. That's amazing. I want to do that. And so getting ideas from all of these other people, from these other photographers, and copying them, there's nothing wrong with that, because copying them from there, you develop your own style. And you might think, oh, I tried it and it doesn't quite work for me, so I did it slightly differently and I've done something that works better for me. So feel free. There's nothing wrong in copying something, because really everything we do has been copied from somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference between copying and just blatantly plagiarizing, I guess, or being inspired. I guess that's different thing. I mean, I think one of the other things as well is working with other professionals, because I know we bounce off ideas all the time, don't we?
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's, you know, we all bring different things. We all have a different way of working, and you know, we bring things in. I mean, I obviously do work with you. I work with another wedding company. I do my own weddings as well. And also I'm studio based, so I bring some of my studio knowledge into what we do wedding wise. So it's just about collaboration is really, really good. And I don't know, just maybe being, you know, this person obviously shoots their own weddings. There's nothing wrong with, you know, opting to be in a second for another wedding photographer. You know, you get paid and they'll tell you to do things in a certain way, and you go, oh, I wouldn't do it like that at all, and leave it. But then someone else might go, oh, hang on, yeah, why don't I do that? That's an amazing idea.
Yeah,
and it could be all sorts of different ways of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something to learn from everywhere, you know, your surroundings, whether it's your surroundings or whether you're looking at online or something, you never stop learning. So the point, when you get to the point that you think, okay, I'm doing everything 100% correctly, I don't need to look at what's going on around me or anything, that's a time when things are going to start to go downhill, because you're not looking for inspiration from anywhere else. So you always need to be aware of what's going on. And I'll constantly look at stuff that's going on around. If I'm looking online, if I see an image and I think, oh, I like that, I wonder how that was done, I like the tone of that picture, or I look at an advert on TV, or I watch something on Netflix and see the way it's been filmed and the color tones on the way that something's been filmed. Inspiration is all around us more than ever before. It's just that we don't realize it. We don't realize that that's inspirational to us. We just, you know, when you're watching, say, a series on Netflix, why are you engrossed in it? Are you engrossed with the story? Yes, you're engrossed with the story, but you're probably you're probably engrossed with the way that it's also being filmed, but you're perhaps not aware of that as well.
Yeah.
So
well, I think as sort of image creators, I'm just trying to think of the word that sort of encapsulates everything there. Image creators.
Yeah.
I mean, I do notice these things when I'm watching a film or something, which maybe my friends wouldn't necessarily recognize. Oh, what was your favorite part of the film? Well, I really liked the way this person was lit in this scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what? You know, it's you know, I remember when I watched, I was quite young at the time, and I was still working for Venture, and me and my wife we're watching The West Wing. I'm not sure if you guys have seen The West Wing.
I know it, yeah.
And there was a certain scene where one of the characters was lit in a certain way, and I was like, I've got to try that in the studio.
Yeah.
And it just changed the way I lit certain things. So yeah, you've always got to it's always worth just keeping your eyes open, looking at different things.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I was working with a photographer going back a few weeks ago. We were doing some video stuff, and he bought some lights. They were so with some Pixar ones, and they were amazing. And I went out and bought them, and I've used them since. He just that little thing from the lighting, what those lights did, really inspired me to do that. Mark, I've been working with you and some of the LED lights that you've bought, and that's really inspired me. And so you're constantly inspired by others. Now let's look at music. Let's just jump back to music for a moment. When an artist just records when an artist records an album of covers, some people might think, oh, he or she's recording an album of covers. You can look at it in two ways. You can look at it in the sense that, are they doing it because they genuinely want to do it? Are they doing it because they've hit a brick wall and they can't come up with something creative? Right? But they're copying something and putting their own interpretation on it. And as photographers, we can do that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think with covers, it does depend on the cover. There's some awful covers out there.
That's right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Similar
I mean, yeah, I'll tell you somebody who I think has hit a creative brick wall for many years. Now, whether you like him or whether you don't, I think is Rod Stewart. Okay. And I'm not going to go into it in depth here. Okay.
He has been around for a while, so I think we can forgive him for that, right?
He's been around for a while, but I think Rod Stewart hit a creative brick wall many, many years ago. And he's been doing this Rod Stewart songbook series of albums or whatever it is. And I don't think he's had anything new to offer for many, many years. Now, a lot of Rod Stewart fans might completely disagree with that. Okay?
Yeah, we might get a lot of Rod Stewart haters coming out. Well, fans hating us, rather.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So this is just my sort of opinion on it. But for me, there's somebody there and that's hit that creative brick wall. Now, it's not as easy to identify with photographers. Only you can identify that yourself, I think. If you're a wedding photographer and you're doing a lot of weddings, do you find yourself doing the same thing week in, week out, week in, week out? Are you shooting? It's easy to do that, but also at the same time, though, you're in different surroundings. You've got different people, you've got different weather conditions. There's so many different factors that each wedding still becomes an individual just based on where and shooting it and what your subject is.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's probably the right thing. I mean, I guess what we're saying is to people, if you are, worried about things creatively, we all hit that brick wall. Just really look at all these different mediums that are out there. Speak to other people. Maybe if you're a wedding photographer who's get a creative block, there's nothing wrong with offering to be a second for another photographer, and maybe you'll get some ideas from there, and it might just spark you off again. Which
you're right, and that's giving me an idea here. I'm going to very quickly try and give top tips for I think, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay. So like wedding photographers, okay, if you've hit a creative brick wall, go on social media, look at Instagram, look at lots of different photographers, look at their work, pick out maybe 4 different images from 4 different photographers or 4 images from one photographer, and see at your next wedding if you can replicate those images. And as soon as you've shot that image, do something slightly different in your own style as well.
And if I may, just to sort of tack on to that idea, it's a brilliant piece of advice, but don't go necessarily just for the top earners, the photographers that charge £10,000 a wedding or whatever it is. Don't look at them, because they've got celebrities and they probably have double the amount of time that a general wedding has to get the romantics, for example, and they might be in some castle on an island somewhere. Do you know what I mean? So don't just look at those people. Look at the people who are just down the road from you. Look at the people who are shooting in the same area as you, because that is a lot more achievable than these super duper David Beckham style weddings. Do you know what I mean? It's That's just right, pointless. Yeah. If you're trying to compare yourself to that, you're hiding for nothing, really.
That's right. Yeah, and you've said exactly the right word: achievable. Make it achievable. Don't look at pictures that are going to be very difficult to achieve, because you're going to look at it and think, actually, there's nothing like, no, I failed at that. That's not good. Do something that's really easy, but you just really like it. Maybe it could just be with the way the bride has been positioned. Maybe it's where she has her hands. Maybe it's the way that her face is slightly turned. Do something that that you could do even with your eyes closed. And then from there, you can adapt your own idea. And then from there, you can take that idea even further. And then from there, you can maybe add some lighting next time. And then you can make it as challenging as you want, but keep it very, very simple, keep it very, very achievable. So that's one thing. When it comes to, say, a commercial client, again, look at what others are doing. If a company local to you wants some photography doing, look at what their competitors are doing. What are they putting out? How can the company that you're working for, how can you improve on what their competitors are doing and put them one step ahead? So that's another way of getting out of that creative, that hitting that sort of brick wall of getting out of that as well. Now, if you're doing so that's 2 tips. I've got one more. One was for wedding photographers, one was for commercial, and one other tip I would say is just for general photography. If you're just going out doing photography on your own, just because as a hobby, for a project you might be doing or something, what's the best tip for that? Mine is research.
Mark, absolutely, research, and it really depends on the style, the type of photography that you're going for. If it's street photography, maybe look up where you're going to go. Maybe look at the history of it, because if you can, maybe there's an interesting fact about a certain building that's going to be in the area that you're taking a photograph of. Maybe look up that fact. Maybe you can somehow integrate that fact into your photography. Family photography and portraiture. I mean, that's obviously something I do a lot of. I'm always looking at other people's work, just to seeing, not necessarily to copy or to see. It's just to see where trends are going as well. What are people wanting in their living room at the time being? Also, I look at sort of what's going on interior design wise as well. Is my work going to fit in what people have in their rooms these days? Things like that is always a good thing. Portraiture, like I said, the West Wing changed my life in a certain respect when it came to lighting, which is really random. I was watching it to watch it, and I saw this scene and I was like, oh my God, I want to try that. And it was an achievable thing to try. But it was just, I hadn't seen it necessarily before. Yeah, I probably had, but I hadn't actively seen it before. So yeah, just looking at all these different places, looking at all these different things. We are saturated with images, which can be both a good and a bad thing, but look at, don't just keep looking at people's doing their selfies, and don't just look at, people can be seduced about, you get these like really beautiful models or influencers or whatever. There are some people on this planet, I am not one of these people, but there are some people on this planet that however you take their photograph, they're going to look amazing. All right. If you want to take a picture of me, you've got to work at it, because I'm not one of those naturally beautiful people. Most of us aren't. So don't just look at those, look at people. I mean, I'm in the middle of watching Netflix series, Arnold, which is obviously about Schwarzenegger, and it's a limited three episode. And, Schwarzenegger is looking old now, I mean, he still looks good, but he is looking old. And, although he was very featured, he is very featured, I wouldn't necessarily say he was necessarily a beautiful man, but he works on his body and on obviously all of that, but he's got strong features. But even now, the way they lit it, the way they shot it, I was just thinking, yeah, he's looking good, I mean, there's probably makeup and hair dye, I guess, but he is looking good, and that's a good thing to look at, as well as looking at what he was like however long ago, or the Beckhams of this world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So lots of points to be taken there. From there, it's not rocket science. Hey, do what we do. We look at other ideas. We're always looking around us, and that's where you'll get your inspiration from. Mark, I think it's time for a drink.
Yes, is it my round?
Yes, why not? Let's I believe it's your round, Mark.
All right then, to be continued. Right then, Cam, so now we've got the next drinks in. There's there's something I wanted to have a chat about. It's something that we don't normally talk about on this podcast very often, but I guess it's a very major area of camera technology, and that's things like body cams and security cameras and surveillance generally, I guess. The reason I want to talk about this is, a few weeks ago I was watching a program, I think it was on the BBC, I think it might have been Question Time actually, and it was talking about the NHS wanting to give their staff, their nurses, their paramedics, doctors, body cams for their own protection. Now, this is because I'm not sure if violence against these professionals is on the rise. I mean, it might be because we're getting bigger population, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's on the rise as such, but you hear about it a lot. You know, this nurse was attacked by this drunken idiot on a Saturday night who broke their leg or whatever it is. Yeah. And so the idea is, like the police have body cameras, that the NHS staff should have body cameras to, you know, give them a bit of protection. You know, so, you know, if someone is going to be abusive towards a nurse, but they see they have a body cam on, then they might think twice about it. And to be honest with you, you know, I can see that. I'm completely down with that. I can understand why people would want to have that added protection. The only thing that I worry about with it really is, as a patient, do I want to be filmed? And I think that's the thing. Now, I'm a bloke, so I guess that the things I go into for might not be as sensitive as maybe for women. I'm not sure. But you know, let's if I've gone in and I'm in an ambulance and I've got, you know, a terrible injury or something like that, and I'm being filmed, I'm not sure if I'm overly happy about that. Mainly because, you know, we do live in a world where government officials have left very important documents on a train. You know, where does this footage go? Where does it get stored? Can it be hacked? The NHS had been hacked a couple of years ago. You know, can it be hacked? Will I find a very compromising picture of me in a bed, you know, compromising because I'm having an operation done or something, or CPR or whatever? Am I going to find that picture of me or video of me on the internet somewhere because someone got hacked? I don't know. I don't know the answer to this, because I completely understand why the professionals want these cameras. But I suppose it does go into the question of how you feel about that, Cam, and I wonder how our listeners feel about it, about weighing up. Okay, is their safety more important than our privacy? I don't know. And obviously, you know, we are quite, you know, we have a lot of CCTV cameras in this country. I just wonder what you thought about it, really.
Yeah, interesting. The first thing I want to talk about, actually, though, on that, Mark, before I come on to answer that, is actually it just shows how far camera technology has come. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
before, you know, in recent years, we couldn't go and record a video unless we had a big video camera. You know, think of those big VHS shoulder held cameras that people used
Yeah.
to have. You know,
Yeah, those home video cameras.
they were the only way that you could record video, and it's phones that now have changed that, you know, because we can record video everywhere. And now, you know, more video content is produced than ever before because everything is being filmed. You know, it frustrates the hell out of me when, you know, you're watching if I'm watching an event on TV and all you do is see people that are at the event holding their phones up, recording it, you know. But that's a different subject, you know, that's a different topic. Now, but it shows that the way the cameras have been downsized, the quality that they're able to achieve, and I think we shouldn't overlook the fact that technology allows this to happen.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to look at it from a different point of view. First of all, is when it comes to security cameras, I don't have a problem with any security camera anyway because I've got nothing to hide. I'm not going to go out and do something.
You see, that's I don't. Well, we'll get into that in a minute because I disagree with that point of view.
Right.
But
so my view is a security camera. I don't have a problem with it because I've got nothing to hide. You know, I'm not going to do anything that is intentionally sort of illegal or something. And
no, but someone could intentionally use that footage against you, even though you weren't doing anything, and they could. There is that.
Yeah, but I think this is where, Mark, you're
stitch up.
I think you're looking too far into it. You said in an ambulance. Now, if say you were being filmed in an ambulance, okay, I'd the way I would look at it is, first of all, okay, one way that this footage is being used, and this is where cameras are invaluable, is education, because all that footage can be used to teach people, educate people. Okay, now that footage shouldn't be available to anyone other than in the NHS. And I understand that you said, what if it gets hacked? What if it gets released inadvertently? What if it, you know, and yes, okay, there's a risk to absolutely everything. However, I think the chances of that happening and you being sort of so far out there in the open is minimal. So my view is that that if it's being filmed, it's being filmed for good reason. When it comes to the police,
Nah,
when it comes to NHS, yes, you could say, you could be
I'm
sort of,
not
yeah,
sure.
but we're all being tracked, we're all being
Yeah.
watched. But hey, then stop carrying your mobile phone around with you, because you are then that is your perfect tracking thing. That's where everyone
Oh, I
knows
understand
everything
that.
about you. So if you have Mark, if you have a problem with all of that, and then put your phone, well, don't use a mobile
But the thing
phone.
is, I don't have a problem with all of that, right? I do have an issue with, actually, I think in fair with to the NHL, I think they said the footage would only be used for for protection, just in case something goes wrong. And I think that there is a limited time that this video footage is available, and then it does get deleted. But and I would say, actually, you know what? Even if it is for education purposes, if let's say it's an embarrassing thing you've gone in for, right? Let's say I don't want people knowing that this happened to me, and do you know what I mean? Even if it's for education, I'd like to have that choice, please. I don't want people, you know.
Yeah, but that's you. I mean, there's all these programs, aren't there, on TV? Channel 4 did this thing with it, Embarrassing Bodies, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Who
right,
are these people that go on that? I mean, seriously.
exactly. That's right. Yeah, but I think, to be honest with you, I think people zone out in the end of who they're actually watching. They're just watching this.
Oh, come on, come on. If
What?
me or you were on that program, the crews that we work with, it would be non-stop.
Yeah, of course it would, right? But we're looking, but also you would, in those cases in the hospital, you're probably going to have to sign something that says, yes, I'm happy for this to be filmed. If it's being filmed for medical purposes, for training.
But that's not what it's for, though. It's really for, let's just go back to it, because it isn't actually for training purposes. I think we've gone on a tangent there. This is actually for this is what they're saying, but is for the paramount safety of their staff. And I completely understand, like I said right at the beginning, I completely understand where they're coming from with that, because there are some plonkers, idiots, I could use a more offensive word, but I'm not gonna, who attack our paramedics. I mean, idiots. And so therefore they feel that this has to be done. But that I worry about the privacy of the patient. Now, we're looking at this from two male. If we, I can imagine, let's say an old lady comes in with something that, she doesn't want to be filmed. And I completely understand that. And we have the right not to be filmed in those circumstances, I think. But
do you?
I do want our paramedics. Yes, I think you do. I think you do. Yes.
But do you? Because
I do.
What if, like, I was wearing a body cam, so I was an ambulance worker, and I felt that I felt vulnerable. I wasn't in a safe position. So I pressed record on my camera and recorded it because I feel vulnerable. And then someone says, I want you to turn that camera off.
But why? Okay, but if I'll tell you what, if a paramedic is picking me up, there's nothing I'm going to do that's going to make them feel vulnerable. I mean, they're just.
No, but that's you.
Yeah, I know that's me, and this is the balancing act, isn't it? This is the problem.
You would, Mark. But you would, because you'd be saying to them, I don't want to be filmed. So
now
I
don't want to be filmed.
Yeah. So now they're going to feel vulnerable. So you've just said that.
Okay. I understand that, but I still don't. But that's tenuous, Cam. That's a tenuous argument. I think we have to be careful. I mean, this is kind of a strange one as well, and I know it's kind of very closely linked. No, it's not closely linked at all. It's tenuously linked. But we've got Prince Harry at the moment fighting for privacy against the press. I think privacy is important. We of course we need things to keep us safe, and that's why we have CCTV on the high street, and that's why. But this is a bit more intimate. Do you know what I mean? This isn't on the high street. This isn't in a record store or a jewelry shop. This is you in dire need of help, and it's being filmed, and it just doesn't sit very well with me. I understand why they want it, and I get it. It's because of these blooming idiots who, and I don't have a solution either, by the way, but I do worry about the privacy thing. I mean, I've got a few stats just about, CCTV. I am going to be reading this because this is stuff I copied off the internet. So generally, right? So China is considered the undisputed leader in CCTV surveillance with 4 times more CCTV cameras than the USA. China has around 200 million CCTV cameras, followed by the USA's 50 million and Germany's 5.2. The United Kingdom closes in at 4th position with 6 million CCTV cameras. Now, that's 6 million. I think it is a crazy amount if you consider how big our population is and how big our country is. A couple of stats about London, right? So London is has the third highest number of CCTV cameras of any city in the world, and is the only one in the West in the global top 20. New figures reveal. The capital has 627,727 cameras for 9.3 million residents. That's the equivalent of 67 cameras per 1,000 people. So, and I think we're like top, it's the top 3. I think it's the top 3 city, I think. But it's the top city outside of China that has the most cameras.
So would you, Mark, then, let's just say the NHS or the police said, okay, we're going to stop using body cams. We're going to stop using them completely. Would you be just yes or a no? Would you actually say, okay, yeah, I agree with them being stopped, or no, I would be happier if they were, forget about permission and all of that.
No. Okay. At risk of sounding like a politician, it's not a yes or no answer because you're conflating 2 things. I actually don't have an issue with the police having body cameras because that's different. The problem I have with the NHS having cameras is because I am going to be in a very vulnerable position. I have got some sort of injury. I've got some sort of thing going on, which means I have to be there. If I'm being raided by the police, then I'm probably banged to rights anyway, generally. And if I'm not banged to rights and the police do something wrong, then that's also on the body cameras. So I don't have an issue with the police having them. I do have an issue with me being on an operating table and being filmed without my permission, or, puking my guts up somewhere and having my stomach pumped and being filmed. That's never happened, by the way, guys.
Okay.
But that's why it's not a yes or no answer. I don't know what the solution is. I think our paramedics and nurses need to be protected a bit more. I do, because there are some idiots out there, as I've said a few times. But I don't think this is the answer. Maybe I don't think this is the answer because I don't like the idea of me being filmed
now
in a hospital.
Right. Okay. So look, we were talking, I mentioned about the actual cameras, and one thing we don't really talk about is the actual camera itself.
Yeah.
And so, I've looked up, your standard body cam and comparing them, say, to a mobile phone. And the screen size on just one of these, not all of them, is just over 1.5 inches. So, I mean, what's the size of a standard phone screen, an average phone screen, would you say?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I've got my phone here. Maybe I can quickly measure it. Has anyone got a ruler? Yeah. Here we go. Right. So
get one from the bar.
Yeah, I got one from the bar. So it's about, well, they do it diagonally, don't they? So if it's diagonal, mine's about 6.5 inch screen.
Okay.
Oh, it's about six.
Okay.
There's something very wrong about a man measuring something in inches, isn't there? It's about 6 inches.
Right. Okay.
On my phone screen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the weight of it is, so this is 1.5 inches. This particular body cam that people would wear. Now it runs battery life of 90 minutes. That's not too bad. This particular one has 8 gig, so it can record 2.5 hours of video footage. Video is recording 720p. 30 frames a second, so that's going to give you, the quality is going to be fine, and as an MP4, so it can be played anywhere. And it has on-off button, record, start, stop, and low battery and low memory warnings and buttons on it. Operating temperature is quite interesting. It goes from 5 degrees to 35 degrees.
You're going to need that at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, at the moment we would. So that's your general spec, and it looks like they wear it, they just wear it on their sort of lapel, press a button, and it records straight away. It's just a simple, quick, single one touch record, which is what it needs to be, because I'm sure when it's pressed and activated, it's usually activated in in a real hurry, and it's very easy, I guess, to make a mistake. So I don't want to make it anything complicated, but on the whole, it does. One of the reasons why it's there is because it does reduce aggression, because people will see they're being filmed and it immediately calms them down. And studies have shown that. It says studies show that when people see they are being recorded, it can calm them down and avoid conflict.
I mean, I did read somewhere that actually crime levels in London, being the most surveilled city, is still actually reasonably high compared to cities that don't have as many CCTV. So I can't remember where I read that from, but yeah, in fact, I think when I was researching this, I was going to look at it. I think it might have been the Daily Mail. So you can take that with a pinch of salt with the Daily Mail, obviously. But maybe the answer is the cameras are turned off unless someone is starting to get abusive, and then you warn them, look, you carry this on, I'm going to film it.
Which is probably what does
maybe
happen,
because that is the way forward.
Because the cameras don't record indefinitely. They've got a certain recording amount of recording time on them, as we know. But on this here, I'm just going to sort of finish off just by saying they've given these points about the benefits of them, and it says that these cameras have the ability to de-escalate situations before an altercation occurs, because they have front-facing screen, and that's used as a deterrent. They provide transparent and unbiased footage of confrontational situations using the camera as an impartial witness. Now, some people might say, because you've already mentioned this about whether it's biased or unbiased, okay? But here it says they provide transparent and unbiased footage. Okay.
I mean, you and me both know the camera always lies. The whole thing, the camera never lies, is a lie in itself. Is it an impartial witness? Maybe. I don't know. I think as well there is something to be said. You have this footage of people. You said earlier on, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, so therefore I don't mind. Well, nevertheless, people can put you places where it can be manipulated. It can be for someone, and there has been so many miscarriages of justice in our time. I think the West Memphis 3 is the first one that comes up to my mind, which has got massive miscarriage of justice. But people can use CCTV. People can use things. I'm on a local Facebook group for where I live, and someone's been pictured, and this isn't. I don't think it's a CCTV. This is someone with a mobile phone. Someone has been pictured going through people's bins, just picking up coat hangers and stuff, and suddenly this guy is automatically going to be doing identity theft. Well, he might not be. He might just be buying things, going through bins to sell stuff, because that is a thing. And now his picture is all over this Facebook group, and that's not on. It's not on. He's not doing anything particularly illegal. Do you know what I mean? It's not on. It's not. I mean, I saw someone going through a skip the other day. They're just looking for some other people's rubbish. Is somebody else's treasure, and just to suddenly go from him doing that to suddenly, oh no, he's an identity thief. He's disgusting, and let's spread this picture all over the place. And where is this going to stop? Are we all now? Every time we go into town, we all going to have body cameras. Every single one of us. We have dash cams now. So when we're walking down to the pub, is everyone just going to have one of these cameras on them just in case?
Of course,
that frightens me. That does.
Yeah. Interesting topic, though, don't you think, Mark? I mean,
I think so.
We talk, it is to do with photography, it's to do with video, it's to do with imagery, and that's what it is. So,
and there is an element of, I guess, politics in this. So it would be interesting to have you guys, the listeners, please do comment on it. We're interested in your thoughts. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it at the moment. We all have our worries. Some people will be like you, Cam, who aren't as fussed. I'm a bit more skeptical. Although I understand that people need to be safe, and I'm not disputing that at all. But yeah, please give us some comments on any of our YouTube channels or our Facebook or Instagram, whatever. We'd be really interested to know what you guys think about it, and where basically the public mood is with it, I guess.
And we'll do. Yes, great stuff. Mark, it's my round.
So yeah.
I'm going to head over to the bar. I'm going to head over to the bar. Right, Mark, what would you do if you were hit by a camera? What?
Oh, I guess it depends by the camera. I think I know what you're referring to here, but
Well, I say it's a great story. I say it's a story, isn't it?
it's yeah, it is. I don't think it's quite as in depth as what we've been talking about but it's yeah, I think it's well, Cam, tell the story. It's a
Okay,
good one.
so basically, I think this happened I think it happened in Sweden,
Yeah.
and where a TV show, and it was similar to like
Well, it's their version of Strictly, because I think the
oh
BBC
right,
have
okay,
stole it, haven't they? So
yeah, Strictly Come
yeah, it's
Dancing, yeah, and
in Sweden.
as is not surprising these days, there's lots of disruptions to live shows and live events by activists from whatever their cause is, whether you agree with them or not.
Yeah, but this happened in the snooker, didn't it? Where there was an
It
activist
did.
a few weeks ago in the world. I think was it the World Champs? I think it was.
It
Was it the
did.
Masters? I can't remember. But
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had some eco invaders, as it were,
And
and
yeah.
pouring powder everywhere.
And this one was from the protesters from Restore Wetlands, and they tried to disrupt a dance routine. And what happened was, well, we'll put the link out, but you have to see it to believe it, because they disrupt they disrupt the show. And you have these overhead cameras in like a TV studio. Well, this camera sort of comes out from nowhere.
It's a crane, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a crane, and whacks into the we shouldn't laugh. Into this protester. Okay, I think he was okay.
Yeah.
Now the thing is when you watch it, it doesn't, well, did it happen on purpose? Here's where does the camera lie here?
Wow, this is the thing. I mean, it's because I've seen this footage, and I just saw it on TV, and they were discussing, do you reckon the camera guy meant to do it, or was it just, those protesters are in the way of what was a pre-organized, because these things, all the camera angles and whatever, they are directed, aren't they? They're kind of almost they know where the dance is going to be, so it's all pre-choreographed, and therefore the camera angles, they know where the people are going to be. So was this thing just following the strategy?
Or it could have been. And I'm watching it now, because they walk on stage, hold a flag up, and this camera comes and whacks into this guy, knocks him down,
flying.
And then the security people come in and drag him away. But he must have taken a hell of a bash.
Yeah,
he must have taken it, because this camera's on a crane and it comes zooming into him. As I said, I'm just watching it again now. I almost feel sorry for him. I don't know if it hits him in the head or whether it actually hits him in the hand, because he's got his hands raised, holding this banner. And I think that's what protects him. It's his hands. I don't think it quite hits him in the face, because if it did, okay, so who would be liable here? Okay, right now here's another thing here. Would it be the TV station that would be the studio that would be in trouble? Would the cameraman who actually did it be in trouble? Suddenly it opens up a whole can of worms. He definitely gets hit in the hands. His hands are in front of his face, and I think that's what protects him. But that wasn't intentional. It's because he's holding up a banner, because he doesn't see this thing coming. But what happens here? Who's liable? And because I can imagine this would be a hell of a court case. You can argue the fact that he shouldn't have been where he was.
Yeah, trespassing, I guess.
He was trespassing. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and all of that. But I bet you the cameraman, either he or she is possibly going to be at fault here. Where were the security people? Why didn't the security people stop those guys from getting on? They managed to get through and into a live recording.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's for the camera person. It was probably a lot of people probably cheered when he did it. If he or they did it on purpose, I'd imagine. But then they'll be like, look, shouldn't have done that, but nice one for doing it. It'd have been one of those conversations, really. I guess I'd imagine they're all freelancers. I can't imagine the BBC don't really employ camera people anymore, do they? I think they're all freelance.
I don't know, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. But I guess on a show like this, I don't know. I haven't really heard what's happened to the camera person. I don't know.
No. think because it's over in Sweden, but
in Sweden,
try and find a little bit more about it, because it's only just happened very recently, and that's the only footage that's available as far as we've been able to find out.
Do you want the footage I'd love to see?
Yeah,
the footage from the actual camera.
Oh yeah, that would be really good, wouldn't it? Because you can imagine him zooming in and just whacking into the guy. But look, hopefully nobody was hurt.
I don't think anyone was
hopefully
hurt.
Nothing, it's not being taken any further. Yes, the guys shouldn't have been, were somewhere where they shouldn't have been. They got hit. One of them got hit by a camera. So, and
I mean, it is a good cause as well. I'm just going to throw that one out there. Global warming is quite important, and we probably will all die of it unless we sort it out.
Well, that's another topic completely.
Yeah,
so.
It is.
Okay, good stuff, guys. Thank you very, very much.
Yes, thank you for listening to us ramble on about certain things whilst having a drink. Please, like we said earlier, subscribe to all our socials. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We've got YouTube channels, brand new YouTube channels. We haven't actually braved you guys seeing our faces as we're doing this quite yet, but we are going to get there at some point, I promise you. But please do subscribe to that because that would be really, really helpful. Thanks again for listening to us, and we will see you on the next one. Bye for now.